On today's morning show, Michelle Reinen is our guest as we talk from DadCap's perspective about some consumer protection topics for this month. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing great. I can't believe we're already to October, but October is an exciting month for consumer protection.
Well, it is, and we begin with Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and so these are some topical things. How are you looking at it, or what are some things that we should be aware of this month?
Yeah, this is a month where we try and promote 4 cybersecurity practices that consumers can add to their everyday routines. I know when we talk every month, there is always a component of cybersecurity we want people to be cautious with, but this is one month just to concentrate on that because everyone benefits from improved online and device security, both for personal and organizational use. And technology is always improving and changing, which means our security measures have to constantly adapt as well. And so we take this time to just talk through some tips and try and get people to put some new behaviors in place or at least improve existing behaviors.
So I know that a lot of times things come up where maybe we've been hacked and things like that. Are there some steps that we can take to avoid those days?
Yeah, exactly. So cybersecurity this month, the 4 concentrated areas are update your software regularly to fix security risks. And updates make improvements and resolve bugs. We see that when they're issued, but they also patch holes in security systems that can be exploited by by those bad actors or hackers. And that's what you're talking about, where some of those breaches come from. And so we want to be sure that people are fixing those security issues as soon as they are rolled out, if possible. So you can either establish a habit of checking for updates and do them right away, or set the notification feature on your device to learn when updates are available.
So a password, a good password for me is probably not 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation point. I mean, it's got to be a little stronger than that, right?
Please. And please don't use that same one on everything. Create different strong passwords for each account. Reusing a single password can put all your accounts at risk. And strong passwords are also the key, as you just mentioned. Consider using a passphrase or a password manager program. And a passphrase is just long and unique to you. It's easy for you to remember, but hard for others to guess. And it adds a few numbers or special characters to add complexity. So an example is you could replace an E with a 3 or add a question mark between words, an exclamation point at the beginning and end, or an asterisk in there. But there's lots of ways to create that passphrase that will be unique to you. And be sure, different password each account.
So what do we do from there, Michelle, as far as remembering them? Write them down somewhere? Is that safe too?
Well, that's where you may want to use a password manager program. But no, we don't want you to write them down somewhere, that's going to be easily accessible by others. So if you do write them down, you have to keep that piece of paper secure and not travel with it. But a password manager is going to help you remember, and it's a place to store those different passwords for those different accounts. But the other thing you can do as it relates to security, and it's our tip number 3, is enable multi-factor login authentication. This is known as MFA or two-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication is available for most online accounts. It adds an extra step for logging in that only takes a few seconds, but it keeps your login secure even if a scammer knows your password. And really think of it visually as the deadbolt on your front door along with the normal doorknob lock. So it's that extra login step that you have for putting in your information. And how it works is you're sent a short code through a text, email, app, or physical token that you must enter when logging into your account. And you receive a new code every time you log in. So you'll have your password, and then you're going to have this code. And it really is just a few extra seconds, but it is a whole pile of extra security.
What can you tell us about phishing attempts?
Well, recognize and report them is what we're asking people to do, but they are still the most common way that consumers gain access to your private information. And just a reminder, this is the phishing with the PH, and a scammer sends you a message pretending to be a trustworthy source and asks you for your information, usually passwords or personally identifiable information, hoping that you will just send it willingly because you've clicked on the link and fallen for whatever scam that they are putting before you. But most email and cell service providers have built-in report options for phishing and scams. Please use them. Report these phishing attempts and help save yourself and someone else from falling victim to these.
This day and age, we have so much information on our phones, including banking accounts and things like that. What's a good way to protect our digital privacy, Michelle?
Well, protecting your digital privacy is another one of those activities this month that we want to make sure people are doing. And the first step of 3 is secure your Wi-Fi. Your wireless network is the gateway to all the Wi-Fi-enabled devices in your home. So to protect your connected devices, replace the default Wi-Fi network password and router admin password with a strong password. Keep your router up to date by visiting the manufacturer's website to see that there isn't a newer version of the software available for download, and see if you can set up auto updates for your router. But keep that Wi-Fi secure by having that password, and only use it for your devices. Don't just hand it out to anybody who's visiting your household. And if you do, change the password if they're not somebody that you can, really confidently trust.
What about locking up your phones and computers? I think most people do that, but that's kind of something you should always do, right?
Yeah, this is one of those tips that can take another few extra seconds, but set your computer and phone to lock when you're not using them. Doing this in combination with having the device password protected prevents unauthorized access to your device if you step away from it or lose it. And losing a phone or laptop can be incredibly stressful, but it is even more stressful if it falls in the wrong hands and you have a password manager that has all your passwords, or you keep that personal information on your device, such as a credit card in your iPhone or your smartphone wallet there. So you want to be very cautious and be sure that your phone is set to lock when you're not using it.
Cloud storage, that's pretty important too, isn't it?
It is. And what this is really talking about is creating backup copies of your information. If your device is infected, stolen, hacked, lost, damaged, whatever one it might be, you might lose most of the data on it unless you've backed it up. And you can back it up and should do so regularly, either manually or by setting it to auto backup. And 2 of the most popular backup methods are cloud storage, as you mentioned, or an external storage device that you may own and place in a secure location. But you have options there, and you just want to be sure that you are creating those backup copies of your information to protect that digital privacy.
Online, I think the computer kind of knows the trends and our likes and dislikes. And, I'm on the other day. How do they know that I like to collect vinyl records? They're able to figure out our paths and most visited sites, aren't they?
They are. And that's because your data is collected and used. There are legitimate companies that track your online activity for several reasons. Some of those are to save your preferences and information, like usernames and passwords, addresses, and items you leave in your shopping cart, so they can send that reminder, don't forget to buy me. I've gotten plenty of those. But then there could be a way to show you your personalized content, like local weather, stories about topics you're interested in, and advertisements. And another legitimate reason is to gather data about how people use their website apps, like pages they visit, how long they spend on it, and types of devices they're using. And that goes to just researching and knowing about their customers. But there's several forms of online tracking that aren't as wonderful as others, because if that data falls into the wrong hands, like a scammer, they just have so much information about you. And so one of those is the cookies, those small pieces of data that attach to your web browser and can be accessed by websites you visit. And another is device fingerprinting, which uses your browser's unique configurations and settings to track your activity. And apps on your computer or phone often have their own tracking systems as well. But you can control some of that by clearing your cookies and looking at the security and privacy settings on your device so you aren't tracked and that data isn't being collected. But you have to counterbalance and weigh the unique features and conveniences that you are trading off for not being tracked, but at the same time, your data isn't being collected and stored by other companies and potentially scammers.
There's so many times you go on there, it's an interesting website, but they're collecting cookies. It's kind of a catch-22 sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to decide what cookie setting you want to have on your devices, because how much data do you want a site that you're just browsing by versus one you're going to regularly, and you maybe want them to remember something for your convenience versus a one-stop looky-loo at a website type situation. So really determine and control what you are handing over.
I was not aware that this happened, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Fake jury duty notices. What can you tell us about those, Michelle?
Yeah, this is a scam that is circulating and has for a while, but it goes through those peaks and valleys here, and we want to make sure everyone is aware because missing jury duty can have real consequences. You could face a fine, be required to go to court, or even get arrested, and scammers take advantage of that. They try and get your money and your personal information because they try and throw you off kilter by saying that you've missed jury duty. And how this scam usually starts is with a phone call or an email from someone claiming to be a court official or someone from a law enforcement agency, and they say you've missed jury duty even though you never got a jury notice, which comes by mail. And now there's a warrant for your arrest. The only way to cancel the warrant is to pay a fine and confirm your identity by providing your personal information like a social security number and date of birth, which we always want you to keep confidential. If you refuse, they may threaten you with jail time, which is going to really make you nervous. And to make this scheme even seem more legitimate, the scammers also might give you a fake badge number and case number. So this is one where they throw a lot of different twists and turns at you to just throw you off kilter again so you don't have that rational thought process in place.
Most of the time, the courthouse obviously would have your personal information, right? They wouldn't be asking for it over the phone.
Right, exactly. And they're never going to ask for immediate payment over the phone. No government agency does that by phone. And only scammers insist that you can only pay with gift cards, payment apps, cryptocurrency, wire transfers. And they use these methods because it's very hard to get your money back if you pay, and they're very hard to trace. And again, just to repeat what you said, courts never ask for that sensitive personal information over the phone like that social security number and date of birth. If they've issued you a notice in writing by mail, then they're not going to be asking you for that data by the phone. Each court follows up differently if you've actually missed jury duty. You will be contacted by the court if you've missed, and it varies by municipality, but they won't immediately go to jail, and you don't have to pay a fine immediately. There are other options that the court will go through with you.
When you look at things for those kind of scams and things like that, there are some pop-up warnings from time to time, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If we are talking about a tech support scam, trying to identify that it really is a scam because they want you to believe you have a serious problem with your computer, like a virus. They're going to send you either a phone call, a pop-up warning, or online ads and listings. And with the phone call, the scammer calls and pretends to be a computer technician from a well-known company, and they say they found a problem with your computer. They typically can fix it if you give them remote access, and they pretend to run diagnostic tests. But the pop-up warnings here, the tech support scammers try to trick you with this pop-up window that appears on your computer. Sometimes there's an alarm or a whistle with it. It looks like an error message from your operating system or antivirus software system, and they might use logos from trusted companies, so it's kind of hard to spot. The message in the window warns you about a security issue on your computer and tells you to call the phone number that is in their pop-up. And some even make a video or ask you to make a video call to them. And again, they're going to want remote access and payment so they can, quote, fix the problem. And then online ads and listings. Here they pose as tech support scammers trying to get their website to show up in the online search results for tech support. And they might run their own ads online. The scammers are hoping that you'll call them instead of a legitimate company. So this just goes to the importance of really verifying who you're working with when you really do have a tech problem. And that's where it becomes so important to talk to friends and family members and work with those you know and trust when it comes to tech support issues with your computer.
I've had calls here at the station and for some of our employees as well when their financial institution or maybe their account was hacked. And the first time that happened, Michelle, I thought it was somebody was pranking me or something, but it is legit. They do call and they do go right after the problem, don't they?
Yeah, they can. I mean, if there has been a data compromise and there are ways that the tech support can know or that you can be contacted as an employee, but you need protocols in place to verify that that is legitimate and you don't just start handing over information and data. So it's so important that you follow procedures within a small business or company and verify, and you as a consumer make that phone call to verify using your known source information instead of just trusting who's on the other end of the line. I mean, I hate to have to say that, but these scammers compile so much data and are so good at impersonating others that we need to be sure that we are verifying before we hand over information.
And for computer work, there are a lot of local folks, a lot of local shops that can help you kind of get back on track too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is where getting recommendations from friends and family members is so important. Asking them for help to resolve the issue if they have technical expertise can also be very helpful. So go ahead and create your list now before you need your list later.
Sounds good. Always good stuff, Michelle. Thank you so much for all of your info here for the month of October.
Well, thank you. If anyone has any questions, please call the Consumer Protection Hotline at 1-800-422-7128.
That's Michelle Reinen, our monthly guest here on WRCO's Morning Show.